What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be analyzing some results from a pretty big tournament that took place yesterday, and that was the Spear Pillar VGC tournament. Almost 200 people, right? I think it was just under 190. Yep, 182. So another big tournament, which means more results that we can look at heading into Vancouver, because I know some of you are going there, and this is just more useful data that you can look at in terms of team building, in terms of what's going to be good right now, what could be like some really nice niche options moving forward as we head into that regional. And another big reason why we're also featuring it, covering this tournament from yesterday, is it had a winner that involved Frostmoth. So that is from Dazak over here. So we're gonna take a look at this team right now because, oh my goodness. All right, we've already had a very unsung hero in Articuno take a regional, but now all of a sudden we've got people playing ice types, we got snow teams running around, and now we've got Frostmoth. Okay, so looking at Dazak's team, it's actually featuring a pretty standard core here with Tinglu, Porygon, Terra Poison, Porygon, and of course Kamo. So we've got a lot of bulk, a lot of setup. Okay, here's the Incineroar Amoonguss giving you Fake Out, Intimidate, and Redirection support, that strong defensive backbone to help you set up and enable the combo, right? And then not only that, we've also got Sand Tomb Tinglu. Okay, so now we're trapping things, right? Just in case, because look, these things are not going to be doing damage, right? You're going to intimidate them, you're going to click Snarl, you're just going to wall them, they're not going to be doing damage, so you're going to switch them out and, remove all those debuffs. But Tinglu says, no, you're going to stay right where you are, you're going to keep taking all this chip damage, and until you're dead, right? And then all of a sudden here you got Porygon here again, enabling all of these options with Trick Room, so this way you get to go first. And then in the end game, potential combo setups here with Overcoat is actually really good to just keep clicking body presses on all these things, especially after +6. It's going to hurt a lot. But then we add Frostmoth here, and this is the outlier of the team, right? We know what these 5 can do, but then all of a sudden we've got Frostmoth. I don't know if Dazak had the intentions of saying, I think Frostmoth is like the ultimate meta counter right now. Or maybe he was just saying, it's Saturday, I want to have a little fun, I'm going to just use Frostmoth. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. Let me try and make this thing work. So we'll have to wait and see what the Zoc says here. But again, this is a pretty cool set with Ice Beam, Terra Blast, Terra Water, Quiver Dance, and Protect. So the main Quiver Dance user is Volcarona, which we'll talk about in a second because he also had some good results. But Frostmoth is interesting. Ice Scales is a pretty good ability, right? Where you're taking half damage from special attacks, okay? And then at the same time, Bug Terra, well, Bug is actually pretty good, against Urshifu Single Strike, because, Bug being really good against Dark types. And then the Ice coverage just in general, really good against a lot of the dragons. Landorus doesn't want to be taking it. Amoonguss, Rillaboom, Tornadus, all these things, they don't want to be taking these Ice type attacks. And that's why, stuff like Articuno and Ninetales was able to do relatively well, because the Ice type is a very good offensive typing, all right? That being said, you need a lot of support for something like Frostmoth, right? And this can do it. You've got Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection, you've got Damage Mitigation, all things that can help Frostmoth bulk out a lot of attacks, okay? Set up this Quiver Dance and start sweeping with Ice Beams and Terra Blast, right? So that's the idea behind it. And if you're not setting up the Frostmoth, you're setting up the combo. But that's the essence of this team, okay? Just to give you some, Frostmoth ideas here, just to like show you in terms of like trying to make it viable. You could go like a Timid set, or you can go like a bulky Modest set here, right? So I'm just gonna try and show you both options here. So this way you can at least try and use it yourself. But if I wanted to use like something like a Timid set here, you can definitely do something like Bug Buzz here. All right, again, just like a strong bug type attack against something like Urshifu, for example, or even something against Rillaboom and, the Ogerpons that don't Terra, for example, besides the fire one. You can definitely use something like this. And then what I would do is I would just go to like Timid 140 here, something like this. So this way, 113 speed, so after a Quiver Dance, when you get that +1 speed boost, you're able to outspeed something like a Landorus Incarnate and hit it hard with an Ice Beam, right? And then from there, just have a ton of HP. Let's go to 176 just to optimize your Leftovers recovery here. Again, I like Leftovers plus setup move. I think it just allows you to, alternate your protects, get more passive recovery, and eventually win end games against a lot of special attackers, right? And then from here, you can just do an even number here in the special defense, and then Again, just a ton of attack here. Not a ton, just a little bit, because again, you have the Quiver Dance set up here. So, 125 base is actually pretty good, but, you just need to be able to get a couple Quiver Dances going. Maybe you need at least like +2 to be really dealing, solid damage with something like Frostmoth. So that's the whole idea here, because, you're going to be good from the special defense side. You just need a little bit more bulk in terms of your HP and your defense. This defense is paper, almost paper. So you're definitely going to need like Intimidate and or Screens, right? If it were me, I would probably just slap this onto a Ninetales team and find some advantages that Frostmoth can give you over something like Articuno, okay? That's what I would do. But this is like a pretty standard Timid Leftover set. If you wanted to go a bulkier, modest set, what I would do is just do something like this, where I would go to 36 speed investment, go to 90. So this way, after like 2 Quiver Dances, I can get 180 speed, and then, just outspeed Genies, for example, because they're capping at 179. The Tornadus is what I'm talking about. And then just do something like this, where you have like Citrus Berry, even number here. Let's go to the benchmark. Modest 116 is pretty good. If you don't know what benchmarks are, or if you don't know what EV bumps are, and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, and you're trying to get better at team building in terms of creating EV spreads, make sure you comment in the video below asking what are EV bumps, because we have like videos dedicated to this stuff, all right, in terms of creating EV spreads. But if you don't know what they are, comment what are EV bumps, and I'll explain it to you, so this way you can figure out and understand why I do what I do here. But after you figure out the speed here, we'll go to the bump here, and then just get an even number again for that Spidef, and then just dump the rest here into defense, right? So now we're a bulkier Frostmoth here, and then you can do something like this with Terra Blast, Terra Water, like the Zoc did over there. Okay, but I would just do something like this, right? I would start with this, okay? And then from here, you can just make this into like a Ninetales team, right? So I actually have something like that just in terms of pre-planning here. So you could do something like this with Ninetales. Just, again, have some speed, outspeed Landorus, okay? And then from there, just dump everything else into bulk, all right? So Roarveil, Blizzard, Moonblast. This Frostmoth, we went with the bulkier route. Then you add stuff like Raging Bolt, Ogerpon, Instant, and Landorus, right? Why this? Because basically the idea is, if you want a snow team, teams are going to find a way to change weather on you, right? Whether it be Sunny Day Tornadus or Torkoal stuff, or Rain Dance coming from Tornadus or Pelipper teams, right? So then you need stuff like Raging Bolt and Ogerpon, right? Because if they're going to bring out the sun, the Raging Bolt is going to do relatively well. And if they want to bring out the rain, then that's going to be good for Ogerpon Wellspring, right? So you need answers to be able to play in your opponent's weather if they take away the Aurora from the Ninetales, for example, right? But this is a very standard Raging Bolt set, the AV set. Just be super bulky, tank the the ice moves from the Chien-Pao, go to the bump here with the special attack, and then the rest just doesn't really matter. You already got the Assault Vest, you got the speed, minimal speed, because this is just meant to be a supportive Raging Bolt here with Snarl and Drake and, E-Webs for speed control. Incineroar and Ogerpon Wellspring, here's your Fire, Water, Grass Core, right? So just do something like this with Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, Follow Me, Spiky Shield, and again, just Adamant 76 here for that benchmark idea, and then almost max HP here, right? 100, and then a little bit here. Okay, this is enough, again, to survive stuff like Dragonite Extreme Speed, with that boosted Chien-Pao effect, so just be super bulky here. Incineroar with Goggles, pretty good into Amoonguss stuff, so again, just Flare Blitz, very standard set here. Flare Blitz, Fake Out, Parting Shot, and then, knock off, just to be able to remove key items here. But, again, with Incineroar, you can just, pivot out, what you can send out Ninetales. Incineroar, Parting Shot into stuff like, Raging Bolt or Frostmoth, and behind the screen start setting up from there, right? So, and then again, something like Frostmoth definitely appreciates the snow, the defense boost from something like this. And then in general, the Intimidate support is very much welcome, right? And I would actually even do something like this where I can just leave it like that. That's totally fine. But anyway, careful set here. So, just something like this, 156, the benchmark here, 236 HP, 4 attack, a little bit of speed, maybe about 85 is pretty good. And then there, the defense, right? So this way after, you can outspeed other Incineroars just a little bit, right? And then Landorus here, again, just sheer force. This is your substitute mon, right? You could just do something like this with Protect, and then the standard Earth Power Sludge Bomb set. Nothing too crazy if you just want to, just try something out here with something like Frostmoth, something alternate, in terms of what is being given right now. I just like Timid Landers here. I just think outspeeding stuff like Chi-Yu and Entei is always going to be important, right? So here we go. We got a very standard Frostmoth team here. Free team. Okay, we'll put this in the video description below. But again, Frostmoth is another interesting bug type with Quiver Dance, just like Volcarona, that can do well, if you can put it on the right team. So if you want to do something like this, here you go. Otherwise, I would probably just use Volcarona, or I would probably just use Articuno. But there are some advantages of having something like a Frostmoth as of today, all right? What we get tomorrow or maybe in a week, who knows? But it was just nice to see Frostmoth win a pretty big tournament, all right? I don't know how often he brought the Frostmoth. I don't know how often it was used, but the fact that it was on a winning team means, maybe it did have a role and it did have a place within what he was trying to do. All right, so besides Frostmoth, what about the rest of the tournament? What other meta development did we see from the rest of the tour? So let's take a look. All right, how about Volcarona here? So, since the last regional, Volcarona has been utilizing this Tera Blast, Tera Fairy, Quiver Dance set. So, you have your Fire move here, then the Tera Blast, Quiver Dance, and then Protect here. So again, Volcarona also has some niche within Regulation F. We always said, if Heatran would decline in usage, Volcarona stocks would just go up, right? And it has, right? I haven't really seen Heatran all that much in Regulation F up until this point. However, that being said, it has started to slowly rise back within the meta, and we'll talk about that after we talk about Volcarona. But the idea is this. If you have this Quiver Dance set, unlike Frostmoth, you already have a ton of special defense, even more special defense, actually. All right, your defense is more or less about the same, and you have a little bit more HP to work with, so that's okay. But all in all, you're going to be able to set it up the same way. But Flame Body is a very crippling ability, especially against something like Urshifu, right? And that's kind of how you have to consider it, okay? But again, just like Frostmoth, you need a physical intimidator on the team because, all this physical damage against Volcarona is just not going to be great, all right? So pretty much modest 36 or maybe even 116, but I like 36 here. Have enough speed to outspeed the timid, Chien-Paos and Fluttermans. Get it to 206, so this way, after a Quiver Dance, you can do that. A little bit of speed that for you. You don't need a whole lot because you're going for Quiver Dance. And then just literally max your HP and just dump the rest into defense like this, right? And if anything, if you want to speed creep, you can do something like this. But the whole idea is, again, outspeeding those timid Flutters and Chien-Paos and then having a ton of HP and a little bit of defensive bulk. So this way you get a nice balanced EV spread here with what we're trying to do, right? And even numbers all around with the speed, the defense, and the speed, the special defense, and the special attack to optimize the Quiver Dance 1.5 boost, right? And then after that, again, very standard support options: Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection, maybe a little bit of speed control with some of your options. But if you just take a look at the teams here that did well with Volcarona, let's take a look at the 5th place team with Regicat over here. You got Tornadus here with Tailwind and Sunny Day. So that's going to be good for Volcarona and Heatran here. So there's 2 fire types here, Heatran and Volcarona. That's going to be pretty good, again, against some of this Articuno stuff that's running around. Here's Landorus. Also, I don't know how often you want to bring Landorus into Articuno stuff right now, but it does have another niche in Regulation F. Once a mainstay on your team, top 3, top 5 usage back in Regulation D, but all of a sudden now you don't really see Landorus all that much, but it has been useful on certain teams. It's not a bad mon by any means, of course. It's just not as good as it once was in the previous format. But here we go, Dark Urshifu, Rillaboom here. Again, you have this fake out pressure here. Again, just trying to enable this Volcarona here, right? But all in all, pretty cool team from Regicat. I like it a lot. So shout outs to them for doing relatively well in 5th place. How about this one? Now this, again, just like with the Frostmoth, now we're adding combo here yet again. So this double setup idea, with a bug type and combo is what we're seeing here. But we've got Chien-Pao, Urshifu, and Rillaboom here. So the priority boys that want to hit very hard. Then you got Instant here. So pretty much your Fire, Water, Grass core here that can balance your team and then just have late game setups with either Kamo or Volcarona, right? So another kind of similar the way that the Frostmoth team was set, except this one didn't have Porygon 2, right? How about this one down here? Okay, this one actually had Electabuzz here as a bulky Eviolite redirector here with Follow Me, and it also gets Electro Web, right? Follow Me with Electro Web is pretty good. Then you have Taunt here. So this is actually a pretty cool set I like this team just because it features, again, a couple of niche options here with Electabuzz and Volcarona. This is the Terra Grass Giga Drain idea. This was the older Volcarona set, but again, the EV spread is more or less similar, where you're just, you know, being super bulky, you're setting up Quiver Dances, and you're clicking Giga Drain against stuff like Urshifu or, you know, Terrestrialize Ogerpon stuff, right? And then again, Rain Dance with Archaludon and Rapid Strike Urshifu, that's nothing new, that's pretty good. And then Sandshrew Storm coming from this Landorus is also very much appreciated here. But and again, super cool team from Penguin. Again, more Volcarona usage. It's a good mon. If I had to click Volcarona, okay, these were the only 3 in the tournament, but it's just nice to see some of these niche bug type Pokemon take center stage. And I think if you really wanted some cool niche tech, I would probably just use Volcarona. That's one way to consider it. That being said, let's take a look at some of the Heatran teams. So a couple of Heatrans here in Top Cut, and it did relatively well. 30-19 is actually a very strong record, 61% win rate. We already saw it on Reggie Cat's team, but just to spotlight it one more time, this is a Leftovers Terra Grass set, which is pretty good. That's the way to play Heatran. And then you have Heat Wave, Earth Power, and Substitute. So this is the Pokemon that you're going to be using in those Trick Room games, where the turn they're going for Trick Room, you get to set up your Substitute, you get to alternate Protects, and hide behind the sub, and then just keep dealing damage behind your Substitute. The same way you have Substitute Landorus, but Substitute Heatran is also very strong just because it's got way more defense, it's got way more special defense, it's bulky, it's also a strong special attacker, and you know, you have a little bit more offensive punch. Actually, you don't have as much offensive punches as something like a Landorus Life Orb set, but you have a little bit more longevity, which is something that you can definitely appreciate, right? But Heatran is an option that hasn't been used as much right now in Regulation F, but it does have its use, especially against some of those Articuno Ninetales teams, and especially if you're going to try and play the mirror, right? So this is Strider's team. He's also slapping on Ninetales and Articuno here. This is, again, the Specs Light Clay set, Helping Hand, Ninetales here. Then there's the Heatran here with Safety Goggles, no Substitute here. So it's just Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Protect. So a little bit more offensive minded, I would imagine. Okay, then you've got Calm Mind Raging Bolt. So here is another setup mod behind your screens. So you don't need your Frostmoth with your Ninetales. You don't need your Volcarona here. Here's your setup. Here's your Calm Mind Raging Bolt with Leftovers. So that's going to be what we focus on in the endgame potentially. Can you imagine Raging Bolt behind screens? Like, how do you touch this thing? You're covering your special defense already with the screens and even your physical defense. And then now you're just being even more bulkier with Calm Mind. This looks annoying. And then you have Fake Out Pressure coming from Rillaboom all around, right? But Fire Water Grass idea with Heatran, Urshifu, and Rillaboom. But also the Dragon Fairy Steel is also evident here. This is actually a pretty cool team from Strider. And if he's willing to share it, I would be willing to use it, you know, just because of the other 4 options here. This is actually pretty cool. All right, but Heatran pretty good here. Again, you know, fire types are great against Ninetales and Articuno. So then you just swap in your Heatran and you soak that up, and then now you're fine. The rock damage, this is where or the rock typing in general, or rock damage, this is where something like Urshifu is going to be good on switch in, and even something like maybe Rillaboom that can just help you mitigate some of that damage as well. Okie Dokie Screens is also something that is an underrated art type, and now we're just slapping on Articuno here just to have that snow idea, but Okie Dokie Screens is another set. Look, bulk up. So look, you got this whole idea of setting up screens and then setting up your setup. Okay, we've got bulk up, we've got Calm Mind, we've got Quiver Dance. Okay, setup is cool. All right, but here we go. Heatran, this is the Substitute Leftovers Terra Grass set. Again, going for this Dragon Fairy Steel Fire Water Grass core once again. But Heatran behind screens and Substitute is actually very convenient, especially against Trick Room stuff. You could just lead Ninetales Heatran, and then if they want to bring in the Sun, like Torkoal or Tornadus, Heatran is going to be really good. I always feel like, again, if you're going to play weather teams like Snow, and if they want to take away your weather so you don't set up a Roarville, bring out your Fire type, okay? Bring out your Water type. That is going to punish them. If they want to go for Rain, your Ogerpon is going to thrive. If they want to go for Sun, your Heatran is going to do well, okay? That's how you have to play it. You need Raging Bolt, and also Raging Bolt is going to do well on the Sun. That's how you have to play it. If they want to change the weather, bring something that can use their weather against them and not just be completely reliant on your own weather, all right? So this is a cool idea from Camerupt. I like that a lot. And then this one didn't quite make the top cut, but 5-3 is still pretty good. So we're going to cover it anyway. This is Kuhn's team. Landers, Chen Pao. Again, Landers having some good usage here. I kind of want to see how much Landers was used. But again, Amoonguss, Chen Pao, Bolt, Heatran, Fluttermane here. So no Articuno stuff here. This is just straight one variation of Raging Bolt balance, but it's Goggles, Heatran with 3 attacks here and Protect and Terra Fairy as well. So again, that's going to be useful against something like the fighting moves from Chen Pao, something like Sacred Sword, or something like Close Combat from an Urshifu Dark, and then hit him right back with, you know, or just if you didn't have Terra Blast, Terra Fairy, then well, here's your Fairy type anyway. But I digress. Still a Dragon Fairy Steel Core from coming from Kuhn's team here. But I just want to check out Landers. How many? So 20. Oh, that's actually a pretty good result. 26-19 and some pretty somewhat positive results, right? 9-2 from Regicat was the main carry here. What about this one? This one had Dondozo here. Dondozo actually came up second. But okay, so this is Iron Hands land. Now again, Iron Hands is also something that, you know, once was top 3, just not used as much, even though it's still a good Pokemon. And then Heart Flame, Ogerpon, and Fluttermane here. Icy Wind, and then this is Woodhammer would also follow me. Okay, pretty standard Dozo team in terms of how you want to build it, but some underused Regulation F options. So that's pretty good. Anyway, let me know what you think of Heatran right now in Regulation F. Garchomp also within top cut 7-3 results, actually also pretty interesting, just because again it might be a little bit risky to bring something like Garchomp right now into like so much ice coverage and fairy coverage now with Ninetales and Articuno running around and people trying to use it. But Garchomp actually has a pretty interesting niche in the meta at the given moment, right? Just because it is faster than your other base 100s, right? If I just, let me take away Volcarona for a second. If I just put Garchomp on the screen here, people forget this is actually a pretty good mon. Like 102, first of all, you outspeed Landers, okay? You can quote unquote wall half of the stabs from Raging Bolt, okay? And if they want to click the dragon move into you, this is why you have Terra Steel, right? So you've got that going for you. And then at the same time, you're going to be pretty good, you know, with this Iron Head Terra Steel set. You're going to be pretty good into a Ninetales team, into an Articuno team, and then also into something like Fluttermane as well. Okay, you're going to have that going for you, you know, and then just Dragon Claw, straight raw dragon damage, raw stab into, you know, opposing dragons, like another Raging Bolt if they don't want to Terra. Really good into other Dragonite teams, for example. And then from here, you know, Clear Amulet makes it so that you don't get Intimidate cycled from something like Incineroar. So that's going to be pretty good against you. And then just coupling this with Tornadus is pretty nice. But then you need another flying type if you really want to use Earthquake. So let's slap on Articuno and slap on Ninetales. So now we've got Tailwind and Screens going for us. And Garchomp now all of a sudden is super bulky. And then you have Chen Pao here that can also make you do a little bit more physical damage, coupled with the Rapid Strike Urshifu over here, right? So, you know, pretty interesting idea to try and use Garchomp in Regulation F. We did see that idea with Tyranitar, of course, and Corviknight, you know, a couple regionals back with Len. So that's pretty good. I don't know how much we'll see Garchomp moving forward, but it was nice to see a Garchomp sighting at this point in Regulation F. All right, and now just to go through some of the other archetypes that we saw that did okay as well. So right here, you know, this was Dondozo in second place here. So, you know, again, Dondozo Tatsugiri is, you know, every now and then comes back, can be used, still, you know, getting results somewhat, but we haven't really seen too much Dondozo in day 2 usage in some of these big regionals, right? So can you play it in the online tour stuff? Yeah, absolutely, right? And until it gets a little bit more adapted, I don't expect it to do amazing, you know, still at this point in Regulation F. It hasn't done that much leading up until this point, but it was nice to see this variant because normally you just see Tornadus, Urshifu, Flutter stuff, but here we got Entei, Chen Pao, Glimmora, Flutter. I still think Glimmora is the way to go if you really want to still use Dondozo, so that's good. Then you add the Chen Pao Entei engine, so that's also okay, and then Icy Wind and Fluttermane for a little bit of speed control here. But other than that, it's a leftovers Dondozo set with Unaware and Order Up, so pretty standard idea here. Then you have Tatsugiri, again with Protect and Taunt, so that's also okay. With Rocky Helmet, Terra Poison, okay. But all in all, Life Orb Entei is pretty interesting, along with Chen Pao's Sash idea. So it's not an AV set, this is an aggressive Entei, so gonna get a lot of good damage here. But all in all, you know, pretty cool second place team. I like this version of Dondozo at the very least. It's not like standard 222 Dozo. All right, then moving forward here, Archaludon. Okay, we kind of saw this a little bit earlier, but AV Archaludon with, you know, Pelipper, Amoonguss, and Urshifu. This is like a very standard starting core. But then you add Life Orb Raging Bolt here. Okay, not AV Bolt, not Calm Mind Bolt, but Life Orb Raging Bolt. So that's pretty cool here. And seeing Chien-Pao on a rain team like this to let the Urshifu do more damage is also another engine that you can exploit, right? Then how about the Goldango stuff? So how about this one right here? This is, you know, Tornadus, Goldango, Regidrago stuff. No Indeedee, no Farigiraf, but still very much playable. You get more aggressive options here with Urshifu, Rillaboom, and then the Heartflame Ogerpon over here. So you get your Fire, Water, Grass core idea. So again, if you want to play Hyper Offense, you can still rely on Regidrago stuff. And if you want that Tail Room idea with Farigiraf and Tornadus, you can also use that and still use this Blood Moon Ursaluna team that also utilizes close combat, Clear Amulet, Iron Hands. I think this was Nick's team, right? So this is also a pretty good way, or still a very, very strong team to use right now. So you can also consider that. Then how about the Gouging Fire stuff? I still think Gouging Fire Ting-Lu is a pretty good team. And here you see a support Dondozo, right? So that's also why I'm looking at this, right? Because you don't need Tatsugiri, right? And if you don't have Tatsugiri, then it's almost always going to be a Yon Dondozo set. You know, just clicking this, forcing switch outs if you don't want to go to sleep. And then when you switch, then you get Howl Boost, but more importantly, you have good synergy with Sam, Tomb, Ting-Lu. And that's another thing that I wanted to also look at is now we keep seeing the Sam, Tomb, Ting-Lu stuff, which isn't actually new. It was used in previous regulations, but it's a good combination with Yawn because you can't switch out of Yawn if you're trapped with Sandtomb. So that's a nice concept idea here. And then of course, Goldango setting up with Nasty Plot, make it rain damage. Okay, we already know what we're getting with Dragonite Chien-Pao, but how boosted Dragonite is another idea that you can take advantage of. We saw this with Gouging Fire, Dragonite, Chien-Pao, and Kingambit. So nice to see that here with the support Dondozo with the Ting-Lu stuff. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So, and then as we move down, again, we already saw the Archaludon stuff. Is this the one? Yep, this is actually the one I was just talking about. So here we go. Kingambit, Dragonite, Gouging Fire, Chien-Pao. Again, just howling everything here, especially AV Dragonite, not Banded D-Knight is the way to go here in this case. So 6-3, that's pretty good. Then you get the standard Ting-Lu, Porygon, combo stuff that we also just talked about earlier. This is still going to be good. And then you just slap on Fluttermane here as opposed to something like a Frostmoth. So Calm Mind Flutter versus Quiver Dance Frostmoth. You tell me who's the better option to have here, right? Then you had Wolf Glick here. He was also competing in this tournament. That also may have had something to do with almost 200 people playing here, but who knows? But anyway, we got some interesting options here. We've got Latios with Tailwind and Luster Purge. Then we've got Registeel here with Setup. Registeel is a very, very good mon. But then we have Hipana with Sandtomb. Again, this whole idea with Yawn and Sandtomb, okay? That's also, again, with this video, I'm stressing that idea, okay, with Sandtomb, Ting-Lu versus Yawn support or Sandtomb in general, okay? Then you have Gliscor here with Toxic Orb, Swords Dance, Dual Wing Beat, Earthquake. Wolf Glick was absolutely cooking here. And especially when you have Rotom Wash Rotom to switch in here, okay, with Trick Choice Scarf, okay? This team is insane. Like, if Wolf makes this available with the rental on his Patreon, I definitely will see a lot of people trying to use this, okay, slack off with... All right, for the healing. Like, this team is insane. I know he got 5-3, you know, but I'm not going to say anything more about that. Like, that team is just insane, okay? Then the niche Sylveon use, I believe this is Barz's team, right, with the Elecki. Yep, it is. So Sylveon is always an interesting option over something like Fluttermane, where you have a bulkier option, but you have a slower option, right? And then this is the Throat Spray set. One thing that Fluttermane can't do is you have priority quick attack here, right? And that's going to pick up a lot of different KOs depending on how you want to use it. But Throat Spray, Hyper Voice goes very hard. Misty Terrain, so that way your back Scalper doesn't take a whole bunch of damage. from dragon type attacks in general. And then you have your speed control with Regieleki, and Instant Ogerpon is your backbone here, coupled with Landers, right? So other than that, nice to see Sylveon get some use in Regulation F, right, as of late. But here's another Okidogi team here with Dragonite. But it's a lot of Raging Bolt balance. And I also want to bring up my team, right? Here, Miggle at 8-3. This is our team. This is our February rental. So if you didn't get a chance to try it, you missed out. But we will make the rental available yet again soon. He still has it, so he's just going to recreate it and make it available. But this was my Raging Bolt balance team at the time. It has the Assault Vest Terra Fairy with E-Webs and Snarl. Then the very standard Landorus Instant Ogerpon set. You know, I like this core with Bolt and then Instant Ogerpon. Okay, it's very strong. And then you have Landorus over here with Sub. And then you just add Urshifu Dark and Fluttermane with Icy Wind. If you need a team to learn the meta, if you're still like trying to get your footing at this point, just use our team. Okay, this is the as straightforward of a Raging Bolt balance team as it gets. All right, but anyway, that's where I wanted to end off here. Let me know what you think of the Spear Pillar tournament. Let me know what you think of the niche options like Volcarona and Frostmoth, and you know, stuff like the Articuno teams running around, and even Heatran coming back into play a little bit. All right, but if you're trying to build a team, if you're trying to get ready for Vancouver, make sure you sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you that team building session with me. If you need some help for a PC or an MSS coming up, same thing. We've been helping out a lot of people. They've been doing well. They've been getting some CP at their tours. So that makes me happy, right? That the fact that we can build you teams and then get you some results is what we do here on this channel. All right, so sign up if you want to click the video link. Not the video link. If you want to click the link, it's in the video description below. It's also in the pinned comment section of the video, so check that out. Then you can message me on Discord, and then we'll plan a session there. You can even join the Discord too. All right, we'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.